3 months ago, I got a message from a family I'd worked with. Their mother had passed away in her sleep. They were devastated, and they kept telling me, "We had no idea. She was fine at Thanksgiving." But I had been there. I had seen the signs for nearly 8 months. I tried to mention them gently, but I don't think anyone was ready to hear it. This happens more than you know. Families missing what's right in front of them because no one taught them what to look for. And it's why I need to share what I've learned to recognize. Before I go any further, I want to talk to both people I know are watching this video. If you're a senior watching this for yourself, I know this topic is heavy. I know it's not easy to think about, but after 15 years of doing this work, I've learned that awareness isn't something to fear. It's something that gives you choices about how you want to spend your time. It lets you have conversations that matter. It helps you focus on what's really important while you still can. And if you're watching this for a parent or a loved one, I want you to know something. That guilt you're carrying right now, that fear that you're missing something important, I see that in every single family I work with. You can't be there every moment. You can't notice everything. That doesn't make you a bad daughter or son. It makes you human. The fact that you're here, watching this, trying to learn, that tells me everything I need to know about how much you care. I've been a caregiver for over 15 years. I started when I was 18, taking care of my own grandmother. What began as family duty became my life's work. Since then, I've worked in memory care units, hospice, nursing homes, assisted living, and now I do private care. I've sat with hundreds of seniors through their final year of life. I've held hands at the end. I've listened to families process shock and grief and regret. And I've learned to recognize patterns that most families don't see until it's already too late. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I don't diagnose conditions or make medical predictions. But I've been there, day after day, watching what happens when the body starts preparing for the end. I see things families miss because they visit on weekends and see snapshots. I'm there on Tuesday morning and Thursday afternoon and every day in between. I see the full picture. The pattern I see constantly is this. Families don't know what to watch for. They see their loved one at holidays, at birthday dinners, during weekend visits. And that person looks like the same person they've always known, maybe a little slower, maybe a little more tired, but fundamentally the same. Meanwhile, I'm watching small changes add up into something bigger. Changes that, when you see them together, start telling a story. I make these videos because I've heard "I wish someone had told us" too many times. I've sat with families who realized, too late, that they had been saying goodbye for months without knowing it. Time they could have spent differently. Conversations they could have had, moments they could have treasured instead of rushing through. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to give you time. Time to pay attention. Time to ask questions. Time to be present in a different way. Because the difference between families who get that time and families who don't, it's often just awareness. Just knowing what to look for. If you're finding this helpful so far, I'd love to know you're here. Comment the number 1 below to let me know this is reaching the people who need it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I share insights like this every week from my 15 years of working with seniors. Now let me share with you the 5 signs I've learned to recognize. These aren't guarantees. They're not timelines. But when I see several of these patterns together, it often means we're in that final year. And that knowledge, as difficult as it is to hold, gives families something precious. It gives them the chance to choose how they spend the time they have left. The first sign I need to share with you is something I've watched happen dozens of times. And it's one that families almost always miss until they look back and realize it had been happening for months. It's what I call the social withdrawal that's different. Not just someone becoming more introverted or preferring quiet evenings at home. This is something deeper. I cared for a woman I'll call Margaret. I use a different name to protect her privacy. She was 84 when I started working with her, and she loved her bridge club. Loved it. Every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, she'd have me help her get ready. She'd pick out a nice blouse, put on a little lipstick, and she'd be at that door waiting when her friend came to pick her up. Bridge wasn't just a game for Margaret. It was her community, her joy, the thing that made her feel alive. But over the course of about 6 months, I started noticing changes. First, she'd call her friend and say she was too tired. Then she'd say she wasn't feeling well. Then she just stopped going altogether. Her daughter would visit on weekends and ask about bridge club, and Margaret would make excuses. She'd say the games were getting too competitive, or the other ladies were gossiping too much, or she just didn't feel like going out in the cold. Her daughter believed her. It sounded reasonable. We all get tired as we age, right? But I was there Tuesday and Thursday. I saw that Margaret wasn't doing anything else with that time. She wasn't resting because she was tired. She was sitting in her chair, staring out the window. The energy it used to take her to get ready, to engage, to be present, her body didn't have it anymore, and it was telling her to conserve what was left. Margaret passed away 11 months after she stopped going to bridge club. At her funeral, her daughter said something that still haunts me. She said, "I wish I'd known we were saying goodbye during that last Christmas. I would have done things differently." And I think about that all the time. Because if someone had told that daughter what to watch for, she would have had almost a year to make different choices. Here's what I've observed in my 15 years of doing this work. When someone who has always been social suddenly stops engaging with the things that brought them joy, their body is often telling them something. This isn't someone deciding they're tired of people. This isn't normal aging introversion. This is the body saying, I need to focus everything I have left on just being. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about someone who's always been a homebody becoming even more so. I'm not talking about someone who decides they'd rather have coffee with one friend instead of going to a big party. Those are preference changes. What I'm talking about is abandoning the activities that used to light you up, the things you looked forward to, the people you couldn't wait to see. If you're a senior watching this and you've stopped doing things you used to love, I'm not judging you. I'm asking you to notice. Is this a choice you're making because your interests have changed? Or is this your body telling you it doesn't have the energy anymore? Because that distinction matters. One is natural evolution. The other is a sign that something deeper is happening. And if you're watching this about a loved one, pay attention during your visits. Ask about the activities they used to do, not in an accusatory way, just curiosity. Mom, I noticed you haven't mentioned your book club in a while. Are you still going? Listen to the answer, not just the words, but what's underneath them. Are they making excuses that sound reasonable but don't quite add up? That's worth paying attention to. This first sign isn't a guarantee. It's an invitation to look closer, to ask more questions, to spend your time together differently, just in case. The next two signs I need to share with you often appear together. And they're the ones families dismiss most easily because they seem so ordinary. Everyone's appetite changes as they age, right? Everyone gets more tired, but there's a difference between normal aging and what I'm about to describe. And that difference can be the difference between catching something treatable and missing your window. I cared for a man I'll call Robert. He was 79 when I started working with him. His wife did most of the cooking, and she started noticing he wasn't finishing his meals. She'd make his favorite pot roast, and he'd eat maybe a third of it. She thought he was being picky. She'd ask him what he wanted instead, and he'd say he just wasn't that hungry. This went on for months. She adjusted portion sizes. She made lighter foods. But the pattern continued. Robert passed away within the year. Now let me tell you about Thomas. He was 81, and his family noticed the exact same thing: loss of appetite, not finishing meals. But here's what they did differently. They paid attention. They documented it. They brought him to his doctor and said, "Something's changed, and we need to understand why." The doctor ran tests and found a treatable thyroid condition that was affecting his metabolism and his appetite. They adjusted his medication, and his appetite came back. Thomas is still here 3 years later. He just celebrated his 84th birthday. The difference between Robert and Thomas wasn't luck. It was awareness leading to action. When you notice appetite changes in yourself or a loved one, it's worth investigating. Sometimes it's something fixable. Sometimes it's not. but you deserve to know which one you're dealing with. Now, the third sign is about sleep, and I'm not talking about the afternoon nap. I'm not talking about someone who used to stay up until 11 and now goes to bed at 9. I'm talking about sleeping 14 hours a day, sleeping in the chair right after breakfast, napping multiple times throughout the day. I've watched vibrant people who used to garden and cook and visit friends become sleepers over the course of 6 to 8 months. Here's what I've observed. When the body is preparing for the end, it conserves energy in ways that look like laziness but aren't. The body is making a choice about where to spend its limited resources. And staying awake, staying engaged, staying present, those things take energy the body doesn't have anymore. If you're a senior watching this and you've noticed yourself sleeping more and more, I want you to hear this. Your body isn't betraying you. It's doing what it knows how to do. It's prioritizing. It's conserving. That doesn't mean you should ignore it. It means you should pay attention to what your body is telling you. And if you're watching this about a loved one, I know how exhausting this is to witness. Watching someone sleep their days away is heartbreaking. You want to shake them awake. You want them to engage. You remember who they used to be. But I need you to understand something. They're not choosing this. Their body is making this choice for them. Here's what I wish every family would do when they notice these patterns. Start documenting. Write down what you're seeing. How many hours are they sleeping? What time do they go to bed? How many naps? What's happening with their appetite? Are they eating half of what they used to? A quarter? Keep a simple log for 2 weeks. That documentation gives you something concrete to bring to their doctor. It helps you see patterns you might miss when you're in the middle of it. If this is resonating with you, I'd appreciate if you'd comment the number 3 below. It helps me know this information is reaching the people who need it. And I want you to know, you're not alone in noticing these changes. You're not imagining it. What you're seeing is real, and paying attention to it matters. Knowledge is power. These signs don't tell you everything, but they tell you something. They tell you it's time to ask more questions, time to document what you're seeing, time to bring those observations to a doctor who can help you understand what's happening. Because sometimes, like with Thomas, there's something that can be done, and sometimes there isn't. But either way, you deserve to know what you're facing. The fourth sign is one that often gets dismissed as bad luck or just part of aging. But I've learned to pay very close attention when someone starts having repeated infections that don't fully resolve. This is your immune system trying to tell you something. I cared for a woman I'll call Dorothy. She was 76, and over the course of about 8 months, she had one infection after another. It started with a urinary tract infection. They treated it with antibiotics, and she seemed better. But then a few weeks later, another one. Then a respiratory infection, then another UTI. She'd recovered just enough to feel somewhat normal, and then she'd be sick again. Her doctor would prescribe antibiotics, she'd take them, but the pattern kept repeating. Her daughter thought it was just bad luck. She thought maybe Dorothy wasn't being careful enough about hygiene, or maybe she was around too many sick people. But I had seen this pattern before. When the immune system is wearing down, when the body is using all its resources just to keep going, it can't fight off infections the way it used to. Dorothy passed away about 4 months after that pattern started. Her immune system was telling us something we didn't want to hear. Now, I want to be very clear about something. If you're experiencing repeated infections, it doesn't automatically mean you're in your final year. There are many treatable conditions that can weaken your immune system. Diabetes, thyroid issues, nutritional deficiencies, medication side effects. This is absolutely something to bring to your doctor's attention. But when you see this pattern alongside the other signs I've shared, it adds to the picture. Your body is doing its best, but when infections become constant, it's often a sign that the system is wearing down. Now, I need to talk about the fifth sign, and this is the one that breaks my heart every time. This is what I call the conversation. It's when seniors start talking about being ready, about being tired, about seeing deceased loved ones. And I've learned to listen to these conversations very differently than I used to. I cared for a man I'll call Edward. He was 83, living independently, sharp as could be, But one day he mentioned to his son that he'd seen his late wife in his bedroom the night before. She'd been standing at the foot of his bed, smiling at him. His son dismissed it immediately. He said, "Dad, you were dreaming. Mom's been gone for 5 years." But Edward insisted. He said it felt real. He said she looked peaceful. His son called me worried that Edward was developing dementia or having hallucinations. But Edward didn't have any other signs of cognitive decline. He was managing his medications fine. He was paying his bills. He knew what day it was. What he was experiencing wasn't confusion. It was something else. Edward passed away peacefully in his sleep 2 months later, and I believe he was trying to tell his son something. He was sensing that his time was getting short. He was preparing, and in whatever way made sense to him, he was letting his family know. Here's what I've observed in my 15 years of doing this work. When seniors start having these conversations, they're not being morbid. They're not giving up. They're not losing their minds. They're often sensing something we can't see yet, something their body knows that medical tests might not show. If you're a senior and you've been having thoughts like this, feelings like this, maybe even experiences like this, I want you to hear me. What you're sensing is real. You're not losing your mind. Your awareness of your own body, your own life, your own mortality, that's wisdom. That's your body communicating with you in the way it knows how. And if you're a family member and your loved one starts having these conversations with you, please don't dismiss them. Don't change the subject. Don't tell them they're being silly or morbid. Listen, ask questions. Let them share what they're experiencing without judgment. These moments are sacred. They're your loved one trying to prepare you for what might be coming, and they're giving you a gift, the gift of time to say what needs to be said. This doesn't mean the end is imminent. I've known seniors who talked like this for years and are still here, but it means something has shifted, and that shift deserves your attention. Before we finish, I need to tell you something important. I've also been wrong. I've watched people I thought had months left surprise me with years. I've seen late-life rallies that defied everything I thought I knew. I cared for a man who showed every single one of these signs, and I quietly prepared myself for his passing. That was 4 years ago. He's still here, still sharp, still living independently at 87. These signs aren't certainties. They're not timelines. They're invitations to pay closer attention, to be more present, to ask more questions, to love more intentionally while you have the chance. If you're recognizing these patterns in yourself or a loved one, here's what I wish every family would do. Have the conversations you've been avoiding, not the medical ones necessarily, though those matter too. I'm talking about the real conversations. Ask your loved one what matters to them now, what brings them joy, what they're worried about, what they want their remaining time to look like, however long that is. Make sure their wishes are documented, not just the legal stuff, though that's important, but the personal wishes. Do they want to be surrounded by family at the end, or do they prefer quiet? Do they have songs they want played? Stories they want shared, regrets they need to voice? These conversations are gifts. They're hard, yes, but they're also sacred. And most importantly, don't wait to say what needs to be said. The words you're holding back because you think there will be more time. The apologies, the thank yous, the I love yous, the I see yous, say them now, say them often. Because I've held hands at the end with families who had that time to say everything, and families who didn't. The difference is profound. The families who had time, who recognized the signs early, who paid attention and adjusted how they spent their moments together, they still grieve. Loss is loss, but their grief doesn't carry the weight of regret. They don't torment themselves with, I wish I had known, or if only I had paid attention. They knew. They paid attention. They made choices based on that awareness. If this video has given you anything, I hope it's this. You're not helpless. You're not powerless. Awareness is a gift. It gives you the chance to choose how you spend the time you have left with the people you love. It gives you permission to prioritize what actually matters, to let go of the small stuff and hold tight to what's real. Before I close, I want to say one more thing. If you found this helpful, if this information matters to you, please share it. Comment below with the number 5 to let me know this reached you. Subscribe if you want more content like this, because I share insights from my 15 years of caregiving every single week. But more than that, share this video with someone who needs it. A friend with aging parents, a sibling who's been worried, a parent who might be experiencing these changes themselves. This information saves families from regret. It gives people time, and that's worth sharing. I share these signs not to frighten you, but to give you something I've seen too many families lose. Time. Time to gather around the people you love. Time to express what's in your heart. Time to make different choices about how you spend your days together. I've been present for hundreds of endings. And the difference between the peaceful ones and the devastating ones often comes down to one thing: awareness. You have that now. What you do with it is up to you. I've spent 15 years in this field because I believe the later years of life can be some of the most meaningful we ever experience if we approach them with awareness and intention. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. I'll see you in the next one.